Michael Morales. Let's talk about Michael Morales. Last night, tweet put into the group chat from Tapology. Let's go through this in chronological order, not reverse chronological. Let's go chronological order. Michael Morales, who is 19-0 at last check, and who is still 19-0, there is a tweet put out by Tapology stating, update on the Tapology record for welterweight phenom Michael Morales. While Morales had been listed up to this point as undefeated as a professional, we have added one additional professional win and one additional professional loss from the start of his career. And so I read this and I'm like, yeah, this is significant. You know, is it going to change the course of his career? No, but you know, saying you're 19-0 and saying you're 19-1 are two very different things. There's a bit of a different feel there. And so it's like, holy crap, what's this fight, right? What's this big fight? Let's go through the rest of the tweets. I'll follow you guys here. Yes?
Could I ask one thing before we move on to it? Is it worth the discussion of what Tapology is, or is that too
Go ahead. Tell them. No, tell them.
Just from the perspective that I think it's important to note that like there isn't like an official record book of these things, right? We're kind of relying on a lot of this stuff. Tapology is a site that does a fantastic job of keeping track of all the MMA records, making sure that the wins, the losses, everything is recorded. It's such an extensive database. They do a great job. There's also SureDog, who is the longer legacy one that I used to always go to, and has an extensive history of doing this. And they have great people behind the scenes at both places who pore over footage and get organizations to send them tape and send them documentation of all that stuff. So there's these different databases, but it's important to note that there isn't like a unified thing that is the official record. So Tapology is one of them that does this.
I will also add that they are the newer kid on the block. As you said, SureDog was the mainstay. The UG back in the day, MMA.tv, was another great resource. But yes, you know, boxing has BoxRec. But honestly, for me, in 2026, I go to Tapology for all my boxing and MMA.
Same.
They've done a great job with boxing as well. I like the way the website feels, looks, the way you can navigate through things, the little new features that they've added. So when I read this, I was like, oh, wow, this is significant. There was a gentleman who works for SureDog, I believe his name is Jay Petrie, who weighed in on this, and he put out a tweet regarding this news. SureDog Fight Finder will not be changing the professional record of UFC fighter Michael Morales. Maybe it's Petrie, sorry, his last name. We reviewed the Ultima Pelea reality series 2 years ago and determined that these tape-delayed matches would not be marked as pro. More on this tomorrow from SureDog.com. So this is SureDog's Fight Finder representative. So the event, the fight, was a reality type show from back in the day, and we do have some of the footage. And you may recall that the Ultimate Fighter is viewed as exhibition. Wins and losses on the Ultimate Fighter is viewed as exhibition. And apparently this is the same thing. You see it's in a sort of like warehouse type of situation, and you see Michael Morales is involved, and you see Michael Morales is about to lose this fight. And so some way, somehow, this is an old fight, some way, somehow, and there's the victory, and it's a little bit shocking considering how good he looks. By the way, his physique is completely different from this. Do we know how long ago this fight was?
He was a kid.
He was a kid there. Do we know how long ago this fight was? When they put it in his record, did they state when this fight was from? Well, here's more information from Tapology. We were tipped off to and found extensive footage of an Ecuadorian league called Ultima Pelea, which had at least 3 seasons of a reality style show, with fighters in a tournament. Morales competed in the second season in 2017. There you have it. Morales was 17 at the time of the qualification fight and 18 at the time of his quarterfinal fight, a loss. The rules and structure of the fights meet our criteria of professional MMA. Many of the competitors were established fighters, including Ricardo Centeno, who beat him. While the Ultimate Fighter reality show in the U.S. is still classified as exhibition status, we don't grant the same exhibition status to other reality competitions around the world. TUF has only been exempted because of the U.S. Athletic Commission's designation it was given. Okay, so everyone was going crazy over this, and Michael Morales actually weighed in himself. I'll punch injustice right in the face. F you, Tapology. Laughing emoji and a middle finger. Then all of a sudden, am I missing a step here? Am I missing a step between that and Tapology's update today, guys?
No, there were some other like media people weighing in on it, but those are the official.
Okay, so let me complete the picture. This morning, Tapology posts this update on the Ultima Pelea. By the way, am I pronouncing that correctly, Andy?
You had it right the first time. Ultima Pelea.
Oh, well, yeah. Why did I screw it up? Ultima Pelea, league in Ecuador and its impact on Michael Morales' MMA record. We will reverse and classify these as exhibition. We look forward to many colorful replies on social media about how stupid we are. Thank you in advance, but above all, we want to be fair and get this correct. More info. We added hundreds of fights daily to Tapology and try to evaluate them consistently. This is difficult to do given the different kinds of fights and circumstances that are sent our way. One category of fight that we have been getting far more strict about is, quote, exhibition fights. For the last several years, we have been very restrictive about allowing fighters or leagues to claim exhibition status. It has become a loophole for keeping legitimate fights out of our records. It allows fighters to compete in otherwise professional bouts without it counting. It had become increasingly difficult to explain why one scenario could count as exhibition, but another couldn't. And in almost all scenarios, we felt the fights were all hard-fought, legitimate MMA contests. As a result, new events being sent to us, even if a reality show format, are generally not exempt from counting on Tapology win-loss record. This is the standard we apply to reviewing the, well, now they called it Ultimate Pelea events that we found footage of this week. What's not fair and not consistent is that we are applying a roughly 2023 forward framework to a 2017 event. If this event had been reported to us in 2017, we would have certainly accepted it as a exhibition at the time. This is the crux of how we agree we were incorrect when we classified these yesterday. We apologize for the shitstorm. We appreciate all the interesting feedback we received. Yes, some of the feedback was fairly dumb, but some of it contained good and helpful arguments. I don't love that type of stuff there, but all right, fine. Trying to be a little tongue-in-cheek. Was there anything else? Okay, so I'll just give you quickly my thoughts. I know, New York Rick, you're very passionate about this, so I will pass the baton to you in a mere second. Number one, when I saw this, I was like, wow, this is significant because A, he's undefeated, and I think it's a part of his aura, it's a part of his brand right now, and so that's a very significant thing. You see his reaction, and you're like, oh, wow. I actually reached out to someone close to him, and what they said to me was, I feel like someone wanted to play around with Morales and was uploading this to Tapology. This fight happened so long ago. It was an exhibition match. It shouldn't be on the record, but it is what it is. The problem is fixed now, and the record is intact. So perhaps it was someone trying to go after Morales. Someone didn't like him. Who knows? I did feel, look, Tapology, I think they're the best, and I think they have a responsibility to get things right. In the end, I think they got it right. It seemed like maybe they jumped the gun a little bit, and when you're playing with people's lives and records, you are going to feel that wrath. So they're joking about it a little bit, but you know, Michael Morales has every right to be upset when he's probably saying to himself, this was a reality show just like the UFC's reality show. Why are you holding us to a different standard? Now, I have long thought that the Ultimate Fighter fights shouldn't be a reality show because as they described there, if it's fights happening between professionals, like just go back to Tough 1, go back to Tough 5. Tough 5 had actual, former UFC fighters. Later down the line, we had guys, who are champions in other organizations. Later down the line, we had, the Carlos Esparzas of the world, the number 1 ranked strawweight in the world, fighters coming over from Invicta. These are professional fighters, and these fights are professional fights. They should not be exhibitions. Now, the way the UFC has gone around it is, A, they're pre-taped, and B, they're 2-round fights, not 3-round fights. So, all right, fine. Then I think that criteria should be applied to all these other reality shows. Now, I don't know if Ultima Pelea is doing 2 or 3-round fights, but if it's a pre-taped show and who knows what's going on, if it's not live, I kind of feel like to make things easier for everyone, you should have it as an exhibition, I guess. Here's where it gets tricky and why I don't envy the Tapologies and the UGs and the Sherdogs of the world. You're playing with people's careers here. And I don't doubt for a second that there are people who are going to try to argue this was exhibition, this wasn't, so that their record is as clean as possible, because you know that matchmakers and promoters are going onto these websites to verify what a potential signee or prospect is listed as. So I will bet you all the money in the world that these types of headaches are happening behind the scenes almost on a daily basis. This one just happened to play out in front of us. I think it was a lesson learned for them. I think they jumped the gun, and kudos to them. Less than 24 hours later, they rectified it. They didn't die on the hill. They didn't say, no, we put this out, we're getting shit, and we're going to fight it. No, they said, you know what? We're going to go back. We're going to rectify it. Sorry, no harm, no foul. I give them a lot of respect for that. I hope it's a teaching moment for them. I hope it's a lesson learned, because you are going to get that crap, especially when you are, you're dealing with a very, very famous fighter. But ultimately, like my thesis is, I don't envy these guys who are just sort of independent dudes who don't work for the UFC or any promoter or any sanctioning body or anything like that, who, are dealing with these records, because we know in the UFC and in North America and in most parts of the world, it's pretty clean, but it's not very clean in other parts of the world. And the sport is growing at a rapid pace, and there's fights happening all over the world to where like it gets messy. And it gets really, it gets really political, and it probably gets a little sketchy at times. And they've got to decipher what is pro, what is exhibition, what's real, what's not. Good luck to them. It's not a job that I want. So in the end, it sounds like they got to the right conclusion, a little bit messy along the way, but I'm happy that they at least rectified it and made the right call. What do you think, Mr. New York Rick?
I think people lose their minds and lose common sense over this stuff. I think this undefeated record thing is a holdover from boxing that makes people act irrationally. And I think that, as you very, very astutely laid out, Tapology and other record keepers have a very difficult job here in determining what is exhibition, what is professional, and all these things. And for that reason, I almost wish they actually had not reversed their decision, from the perspective that it's now opening the door to every single person under the sun. If you have a name as big as Michael Morales does, saying, no, actually this fight was an exhibition, and they're going to have to take a hardline stance or waver on it again, and we're going to be in the same position over and over and over again. And you're silly if you think that there are not people who are trying to game the system, right? I am not claiming that Michael Morales is, nor the people involved in his career or that promotion themselves are, but there are going to be examples of people who do this, and this is another thing that happens in boxing, right? You set up these exhibition fights. They're not truly exhibition fights, but you want to wipe it from the record because that undefeated record is so important. When it comes to the having an O, people lose their minds and common sense goes out the window. I watched Michael Morales get choked to sleep and punched in the head by another unarmed combatant. It doesn't matter to me if it was pro or not pro. I watched it happen. There's video.
What if it's amateur?
Again, I watched it. Regardless of if it's amateur or pro, I watched it happen. If his pro record has a 1 on it or has a 0 on it, it doesn't matter to me. I feel no different about Michael Morales as a top contender in the UFC and as somebody who could potentially dethrone the welterweight champion. This happening in 2017 doesn't change my opinion on Michael Morales one bit, whether he has a 1 on his record or a 0 on his record. The same way John Jones, my eyes work. I can watch the fight between Matt Happel and John Jones and know who won that fight. We don't have to lose our minds over this artificial Floyd Mayweather. He has the O. Habib has the O. Like people get too focused on the promotional aspect of it and not what happened in front of our eyes. Michael Morales lost to that guy. Whether it was amateur, whether it was pro, whether it was exhibition, whether it was not. And whatever the best way to record keep that and however to reflect that is, I leave that to Tapology to decide. But I don't think we need to be as protective of this thing as if it is some holy grail. Like, Michael Morales' career has now advanced many, many degrees beyond whatever happened in 2017. That guy isn't... I watched Islam Makhachev get knocked out by Adriano Martins in the UFC. Would anybody go, man, well, no, who cares? His career is so far beyond that. The things he has achieved are so far beyond that. To focus in on this singular O thing, I think makes people get irrationally silly when it comes to all this shit. And so I think that Tapology should take a hardline stance on some of this stuff and just go, we're going to count everything from Tough and everything from every other reality show, or we're not, and just take that direction. And the case-by-case thing is not going to serve them well, especially putting it out there, as you said, and then reversing it. I think that does some damage to the system.
I think it showed some maturity, but I disagree with a few things that you said. Number one, if they decide hey, we're gonna just count everything now, right? We're gonna count everything. Yeah. It's easier, it's cleaner this way. You got knocked out in a fight. That's a loss on your record. Now, all of a sudden, you have to think of it from like a business standpoint. Now, all of a sudden, their records are going to be inconsistent with the UFC's, and that's going to be a problem. They want to be in line with the UFC. They have to be in line with the UFC if they are to be considered the gold standard when it comes to this stuff. So you don't want to necessarily reverse that, because now all of a sudden some guy is going to be, 22-1 in the UFC, and they'll have him as 18-3, and then it's a little bit weird. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's easy for you and I to say, or anyone, and I don't agree with this, but it's easy for you to say, or anyone out there to be like, yo, stop losing your head over this. It's not that big of a deal, when it's someone's career and it's someone's body of work, and they fight and scratch and claw and put everything on the line to try to win as many fights and be undefeated. Who are we to say that you're making too big of a deal out of it? And so Michael Morales is sitting there on a January in 2026 and being like, yo, a fight that I lost 9 years ago that I was told was an exhibition, now you're trying to say that I'm no longer undefeated? Yeah, fuck you guys. So I don't begrudge him. Now, I don't know the messages that they received. I don't know what kind of threats they received. Who the hell knows? But I can understand why at least Michael and his team and family would be like, no way. This happened 9 years ago. Why aren't you counting those other exhibition fights as pro? And ultimately, like, they have to get it right. And so if they were wrong, then kudos to them for getting it right. Them taking some sort of hardline stance, to me, is just silly, and they would be viewed as not the gold standard. To me, they are the gold standard because they get it right. Whether they got it right the first time or got it right the second time, they ended up getting it right. And I think that's most important.
That's what I would ask you.
Because I think they deem that all these other types of fights are exhibitions around the world. I don't think this is the only exhibition, and I don't like reality show, and I don't think the Ultimate Fighter. There's all these shows around the world that are reality shows, and I think the standard in MMA, whether that's right or wrong is a whole other discussion, but the standard in MMA, because of the gold standard reality show, which is the Ultimate Fighter, which was first, has been, these are exhibition fights.
They say
that's been the standard
in their follow-ups. As a result, new events being sent to us, even if a reality show format, are generally not exempt from counting on Tapology win-loss record. This is the standard we applied.
Yeah.
So
this is the standard.
There has to be a standard. That's my point. It can't be a case by case.
Show falls under the standard, which is these are exhibitions, and so they had to stick with that. They messed up yesterday, and they fixed it today. But I don't think it's fair to say that people are losing. Here's the other thing. By the way, here's the other thing. I do think a big part of Khabib's aura, a big part of his legacy, is that he is undefeated. I think the reason why people put Khabib up on this pedestal is because he is undefeated.
There's no tape of Khabib getting choked out and slapped silly in a triangle. That's the point.
But I'm saying, the reason why some people don't put Islam up there with Khabib, you say, I don't care if ultimately I see what I see now, right? I see what I see now. I think that does count. Like, if you can retire undefeated, Terrence Crawford retired undefeated. That's a huge thing. Floyd retired undefeated. That's a huge thing. Khabib retired undefeated. That's a huge thing. Islam will never retire undefeated.
I agree. So that's the importance of it. That's why I think it's so important that if you have videotape of somebody losing, we acknowledge it.
But if it's an amateur fight, it doesn't get acknowledged. People lose on the amateur scene and then go undefeated in the pro scene, and they are viewed as undefeated fighters.
MMA amateur system is different and
I'm just saying, if you see someone get knocked out, but it's an amateur fight, that doesn't affect their pro career. So to me, exhibition is amateur. Is the way you can view amateur, right? This happened in some sort of set of someone's career, but then when they are pro, at the end of the day, it's these pro fights that happen, and if you're undefeated, you're undefeated.
My problem is with the murkiness of it, right? Is an amateur fight, okay, we have headgear, and we're fighting for 3-minute rounds. Like
they're saying this was exhibition. They're saying this is exhibition, and the guy that he was fighting was a professional fighter. He already had 4 fights in a professional career.
Okay, so which side of the fence are you on here?
Oh, man. On the argument of does undefeated matter and Michael Morales having a right to be upset?
Well, first of all, how do you feel about the way this has all played out?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I am in agreement with Tapology's most recent tweets of what isn't fair is going with a 2023 set of standards and going back to this 2017 fight and changing it. I think at this point, if it's not on his record, then it's not on his record. You just have to move forward with this the fact that he's 19-0. You can't have this, Michael Morales is 20-1 on Tapology, and he's 19-0 on Sherdog, and he's 16-0 on the UFC's official record. You can't have all these differences. We need to have a standard for it across, and I believe that Michael Morales is 19-0. I think that you have to just count this as an exhibition falling under this standard of the Ultimate Fighter rules.
There will be other fights coming up that people lose on reality shows that will count on their records on Tapology.
I don't understand this 2023 business. What is that?
They're saying
Tapology's claiming that now reality shows count on your record.
yes,
But the Ultimate Fighter does or doesn't?
that has its own exception. That's what I'm saying.
I don't agree with that.
bullshit.
That's my point.
It's fucking muddy.
And
It's
this is an
messy.
example of furthering that.
Well, that part I don't agree with. I don't agree with that. It has to be one or the other.
I agree with you.
You can't play God with people's careers.
Wait, so I
can't just
said
be
there
like,
has to
because
be a
the UFC
standard
are
rule,
doing
and you
this.
said you disagreed with that. There has to be one rule, and you said you disagreed with that part. There has to be
No.
one determination. Do reality shows count or not? And it has to be
the
applied
designation of
universally.
exhibition. Is that what you're talking about, Rick?
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to apply
it's an
universally.
exhibition.
Yeah, and I think that, and that's the conclusion that they came to. They don't
It's
even.
not. They're going to include other fights.
So like
They're saying right now, if this happened, if Michael Morales
He would
was
have a loss.
in his
No, I understand that,
second
but
fight of
like,
his career, it would count as
when
that.
was the last Ultimate Fighter? I have like the Connor Chandler series. That was.
those were exhibitions, I believe. On the
UFC has that.
Oh, so they get the
Ultimate
one
Fighter.
exception?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's stupid. It's stupid.
that's my point.
No, I agree with that. That's stupid. What I don't agree with is that you can't like.
Retroactively do it.
But also I really do believe that the ones, that second
They
column
absolutely
matters.
matter to the casual
No,
fan.
no.
There's no doubt.
And it matters
there's
to
a
the
lot of
person.
fans.
Larry, let me clarify my point. My point isn't that it doesn't matter. It very much matters. People are obsessed with it to a degree that is not commensurate with what is happening in the world. Michael Morales retroactively getting that loss, to me, is not significant in the scope of Michael Morales is right now as good as he was yesterday, right? Tapology making that decision does not change how good Michael Morales is from 24 hours previous. 24 hours previous, Michael Morales was just every bit as good as he is now in the future. He might be the future champion of the UFC. It might have been his Adriano Martins. Who knows? Who cares? Ultimately, yes, the O matters, but you're talking about Habib, you're talking about these others. There's not videotape of Habib getting this done to him. That's my point. The O there has to be some significance to it. There has to be a reason that we're all talking about this. I've watched Islam Makhachev lose. I've now watched Michael Morales lose. I wasn't aware of this fight. I've watched him lose. It happened. I've seen it. So if we're going, Michael Morales is undefeated on the pro record.
Does this make you feel any different about Michael Morales?
Zero. I feel just as good about Michael Morales as I did 24 hours ago. I feel he's freaking fantastic. Might be the best opportunity to
do you
beat
consider
Islam
him
Makhachev.
undefeated? Do you consider him undefeated?
No, I watched him lose. There's videotape.
He is right.
I know, but if
There
you
is
see-
videotape of Michael Morales losing.
see
If you ask me a question
fighter-
like that,
if you see a fighter lose on the amateur scene, you don't consider them undefeated
it
anymore?
depends. Are we talking boxing or MMA? There's different things like
MMA.
And this is why I'm saying, well,
MMA.
are they wearing shin guards? And is it like
No, like those amateur fights, like the CFFC
I think
ones.
Tough and I think that reality show are fights between pro fighters where they agreed that they're going to fight and live with the results. So I don't give an exception to that. Again, I'm not the one making the record book, so it's easy, as you said, it's easy for me to say this, right?
Sure.
And I'm not Michael Morales or his team. But I think Tapology and these other, and Sherdog and the UFC themselves have very difficult jobs in having to navigate this because there are going to be people that try to manipulate the system like this, that go, no, that was an amateur fight. That was this, that was that. And who knows? Their word may be law. There may not be enough video and all these
Why did they
things.
pick 2023?
I think that's just because when they maybe like
That part
outlined the
makes no
rules,
sense to me.
I don't know.
The 2023 like delineation makes no sense, and the fact that they are saying that Tough is still exhibition, but these other ones aren't. If anything, I would reverse it. I would say Tough would be the real ones. If you really want to say that, because these are with like the top level fighters, and some reality show in Ecuador isn't. While the Ultimate Fighter reality show in the U.S. is still classified as exhibition status, we don't grant the same exhibition status to other reality competitions. Why not? Tough has only been exempted because of the U.S. Athletic Commission. I don't know, man.
It's too dicey.
By the way, some of these other places don't have athletic commissions.
They have no commissions.
Yeah.
But that's further credence to why
It's messy.
they are dealing with a very like difficult thing
Oh, yeah.
because they don't have these
Oh,
commissions.
there's no doubt, Rick. There's no doubt that it's a difficult thing. But they've been stabbed with their own sword, essentially. They brought
Who's
this
they?
out in public.
Tapology?
Tapology. They brought it out in public. Like, this is what's going on, and then they've had to
I
retract
don't think they should have reversed it, if I'm being honest.
What do you think about?
But that's
all
what I'm
this?
saying. Like, it's Dave made a song and dance about this only
Yeah.
to retract
Yeah.
it. I think it's a bad look for Tapology, if I'm being honest.
So what do you
Like,
think?
they're
should have
saying,
happened?
"Oh, come and come and say shit about." Yeah, exactly. They will.
Yeah.
Like, you've made a song and dance, and now you've had to pull it back. And
I
it's
agree with
a
that.
storm in a teacup. It's a storm in a teacup. It means nothing now. Essentially, it's a big hoopla about absolutely fucking nothing now.
By the way, you made a
And,
great point, Ariel. Sorry, PT.
Go ahead.
Ariel, you made a great point about like the records matching and reflecting. Somebody correct me if I'm misremembering this, but I feel like there was a point where they started adding the tough victories into UFC records, and some weird
It got a little
shenanigans
weird.
was
Yeah,
happening
it got
with that.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this. I don't
but-
remember exactly
Was
what
it the
happened.
live? Was it the tough live? And they
Oh,
counted
yeah,
them as
weird.
non-exhibitions.
There was something happening where like the
Because
UFC
remember,
records
the
were different.
exhibition was the fact that they were being played on a tape delay. I think that was the original. And then
Yeah.
when it went tough live, I think they start adding them to the record
Yeah.
for that season.
I thought it extended even beyond that, but I don't know. I'm
Perhaps.
not as like again, this world doesn't really consume my thoughts, which is why
Can
I'm
you
able
imagine
to be like,
having this job and it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
I
here's a
think we
fight.
agree, everyone
No, because
kind
there's
of
literally
agrees,
no
we
right
just-
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's agreeing with each other. We're just coming at it from different angles. But I think the bad
I-
look here is for Tapology.
am I off base though? And
No.
I feel the like we're not far off, as Pete's saying, between myself and you, Ariel, but like I do think this obsession with the undefeated thing is a very boxing thing. Like
But for us, right?
No.
No, for us,
I
it
think
is.
undefeated is
but,
important.
For,
People
of course
love
it is
the O.
for branding, for everything, for selling. Not to us, right? Like we inevitably we know
does that work anymore?
Yes.
it does. It does. And even
John Jones
the
has
way
been
we-
fighting to get that one back because he wants to be known as undefeated.
But he's the best example of what I'm saying. His record doesn't have the O. His
And he
record
still
does
wants it
not
back.
have the O. Yes, he still wants it back.
We still think
do
he's
you
great,
think
but I
different
can't say he's
about John
undefeated.
Jones?
I can't say.
Oh,
I can
come
say
on, man.
I view. No, I mean technically he's not. It's,
Come on,
it's
come
an
on.
inaccurate
Then we
thing.
yeah, fuck.
We all
then,
feel
then Michael Morales is not undefeated.
No. I'm saying if you look at his record, there's a freaking one
Right,
there. Now, right, wrong. There's a bunch of wrong calls that are made
how
all the
you
time.
feel about it though is different than what that record says. how you
of
feel
course,
about
I don't think Joseph Parker lost to Fabio Ward.
No, now we're doing
okay.
too much.
I don't think fucking
No,
what's
but
his
Rick,
name
Rick.
lost to Paddy Pimblett. Like
Gordon.
But listen,
Yeah.
if I'm telling you about a prospect you've never seen fight, Rick.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
1000%.
this fella's 15-0. He's KOing everybody. He's KO 12. It's different to me being like, yeah, this guy's
Is there
15-1. It just is.
Is there an easily accessible videotape of him getting triangle choked and punched in a triangle? Because if so,
They're
I'd
not
be
gonna-
like, damn, that 15-0 is looking kind of shady at the moment.
People that this mattered to are not going to find the triangle choke video.
Exactly.
But
You're sitting on- you're sitting on the
telling
couch with
me
your buddy.
I'd look for that and I'd see it.
Yeah, you also don't care about the O. The kid that you're sitting on the couch with who's casually watching the pay-per-view on a Saturday night, having a couple beers, is going to be like 19-0, and that's what he did in his last fight? This guy's unstoppable. I love this guy. I can't wait to watch him fight.
You can still
just hope
say
Rick
all
isn't
those
there with the
things
phone.
about him.
No,
Except
then
he's
you say
19-1.
Bro, he got triangle choked back in Ecuador in 2017. He's like, I don't give a fuck about this guy.
His body
He
is
also
limp.
he also just put Sean Brady in the hospital.
Also,
Like,
we
he's-
have
he's
a new
gangster.
man sitting in the bar being like,
that one time.
at one time I triangle choked his ass.
Yo.
Shout out to
Doesn't
Ricardo
count, though.
Centeno, baby.
Doesn't count. It
Terrence
doesn't count.
Terrence Crawford lost over 10 times in the amateurs.
Great.
What a loser.
This is
That's my
exhibition,
point.
though. This is exhibition
Terrence
against
Crawford?
a professional
I used to think
fighter.
he
You
was
think
good.
different about Terrence Crawford?
No, but the point is, you don't. We haven't crossed those fights over. So
Boxing's amateur is obviously a little more very clearly
different.
outlined, right? We're talking even Olympic boxing, right? You're doing amateur fighting, and that's not in your professional career.
I'm just saying, if you're signing up for a fight that's exhibition or amateur, it shouldn't count on your pro resume.
I guess
Shouldn't
that's
Where's
count.
the contracts on these?
So if
Where's
he was
the-
told,
it's,
yeah, but
amateur,
if he
where's
was
the-
told like, hey, I'm doing this as a 17-year-old.
Do we know that?
it was 18 when
Obviously, we
know
don't
that?
know. We don't know anything. I never
That's
even
my
heard of
point,
this
and
thing.
that's Tapology's
he was
point.
18 when he lost.
But
Do we know that?
But what if that is a real thing? We don't know the opposite either.
I don't.
Exactly. So if you're gonna just do Just do a hard fucking fast rule.
I agree with that.
Reality shows are exhibition, and you'll save yourself a headache. Tapology.
Yeah.
When? Starting
do yourself
in
a favor.
2023?
No, starting.
You can just
For all
imagine the
time.
fuckery
And
that's
I love
happening out
Tapology.
of, like,
Again, love it. Use it every single day.
I love
There's not
it.
a day
Love
where
it.
I'm not in Tapology. Like, it's just, this situation comes off
you
badly.
you can just see though where, like, consider this, right? Think about these promotions where the stars getting to the UFC and being successful is more important post these things happening, right? As an example, right? This promotion probably loves the idea that Michael Morales was a star that fought for us, and now he's fighting in this promotion. He's a future UFC champion. Oh my God, he's so fantastic. At the time, that maybe wasn't the sentiment, right? You could understand why there'd be motivation on the side of the promotion or others to submit videotape and be like, no, actually, you know what? That was an exhibition. And now you're a Tapology or you're Sherdog or you're somebody else, and you're having to deal with some guy in Romania who's telling you it was actually an exhibition, some guy in Turkey who's telling you this, some guy in South American country XYZ that's telling you this, and it just becomes too difficult to kind of police that and have to understand, was that pro, was that exhibition? These contracts probably
Awful
don't
job.
even exist.
You probably
Like,
get
who
managers
knows?
writing in and be
No,
like, "You
of course.
MFer,
Of
you're trying to
course.
ruin my guy's career. He's trying to get signed by this thing, and you had this listed. That wasn't a
Yeah,
real fight."
that's shit.
Oh, it's an awful job. I don't know why.
Above all
anyone-
else, let me reiterate, I think Michael Morales is the best chance at beating Islam Makhachev in the welterweight division. I think he's fucking incredible.
than Shavkat?
I think he's, yeah, probably at this point. Like, I need to see Shavkat come back. Dude's a savage, man. I feel no different about him today than I did yesterday in saying that I do think there's tape. I've seen it. It exists.
I don't know. See, when you say that though, now I don't know what your stance is.
Why?
Doesn't really
Why-
look like Michael Morales to me. I'm just saying.
It's true.
Why
You know
can't
what?
those two
Into it,
things
bro.
be true? I watched him lose, and I think he's fucking amazing now.
Sure.
Sure, it's him.
I just said it. I watched Islam Makhachev get slept. I think he's fucking
That looked like
incredible.
Islam, though. That
But
looked
can
like
you
Islam.
not agree that if you can retire 27-0 or 50,
It's fantastic. It's
it's
great.
There's a lot of money to be made with
But
that.
it's such a like combat sports thing. It's
I mean,
such
that's
a,
what we do. That's what we
Yes.
do. We're in the combat
It is.
sports world. Yeah, of course. But by the way, it's the
everybody
only.
loses. It's not boxing. People lose.
People
Habib's
care,
the
though.
only
No,
one.
this is a thing that.
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Okay, what is the number one thing when people debate Michael Jordan and LeBron James? What is the number one thing that they say? Jordan never lost in
Let's
the
not
finals.
get into this because
No,
I think that's stupid as shit too.
Listen
this
to what
is
I'm
what
saying.
people say.
This is what they say. I'm not asking your opinion on it. The number one thing that people point to is, but he never lost in this and that and that. This guy never lost in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady, whatever. You always point if there's an O somewhere, you always go to that first. It's not necessarily just a combat sports thing. Obviously, in combat sports, I'm sure GC could tell us some dude who's undefeated at French Open or the Aussie Open or
Bro,
something.
the Miami Dolphins pop a bottle of champagne
Yes.
every single year because they're
Yes.
the only NFL team to ever have an O.
Yes.
It's not. They won
fair.
the Super Bowl just like all the other teams after them, but they
Let me
popped
ask
that
you
thing
something.
because of the O.
Let me ask you an important question though. Are the Miami Dolphins, who never lost, the best team in the NFL? Or were they ever one of the best
I don't
teams
know if
in
it's
NFL
about
history?
best, but it's about a distinction that they can now
actually-
hold on to and are talked about forever.
Arsenal, the only team to go undefeated in the Premier League season.
Yes.
They're called the Invincibles.
People love
What would
the
the-
Dolphins are not the best NFL team ever, but they still get to celebrate every year. Everyone still talks about them because they were undefeated. I don't think Khabib Nurmagomedov is the GOAT, but people will always put him in that
I agree.
conversation because of the O.
Couldn't agree more.
I agree.
If
Khabib is not
has
the GOAT. Undefeated
that-
record doesn't matter to me.
If Khabib has that Davi Ramos loss on his record, if he has it, then no one talks about him in the same way. They don't.
1000%.
Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.